Our guests join us on the Goodyear Hotline, including the legendary Brian Westbrook, the Eagles legend. He'll join us in just one moment. Brian did some amazing things in the Eagles backfield over the years. Come on now. We'll get to Brian here in just a second. One of the guys that's rolling right now in the Eagles backfield, of course, is the young kid, Miles Sanders, out of Penn State. And he was honest, raw, visceral, and cathartic when he was asked yesterday on Sports Radio 94 WIP how the fellas felt about Jalen Hurts being pulled for Nate Sudfeld on Sunday night.
If I'm being honest, nobody liked the decision. Nobody, and that's all I could say, really. But I don't know who was the main person behind that decision. But all I know is a lot of people on the team was confused.
Who is the main person behind it? Love the murkiness. Let's jump into it with Brian Westbrook. He joins us this morning again on the Goodyear Hotline. He's an analyst on 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia, made the Pro Bowl a couple times, an All-Pro player, and an Eagles legend. Good morning. Take us inside.
What up, B-West?
Take us inside.
What's up, guys? How's it going? Good morning.
Good, man. How are you? Take us inside. What's going on? You're there, boots on the ground, a former player, taking calls every day. What is the fallout here nearly 3 days later?
Well, I think it really depends on your perspective. Now, if you're a fan, if you're just a fan of the organization, you want the best draft pick that you possibly can have. So the 6th pick is much better than the 9th pick. You figure you can get a better quality player at that point at the 6th pick. But I can only speak from a player's perspective. And I kind of feel the same way that Miles Sanders, when you're in the game, you're just one singular focus. You're taught to win. That's the player's code. That when you're on the field, when you're on the court, you do everything that you can to win. And I just remember being toward the end of my career. And if I was lucky enough to make it to week 17, right? And I lasted the entire season, lucky enough to make it to week 17 with your body being beat up every single day and then going out there and having to compete on Sundays, then and I'm playing, then we're going to win the football game. That's the goal. Now, I think there's a big difference between coaches that go out during the week and say, hey, we're not going to play all of our starters. We're not going to put them in a position, and we're going to keep these guys out of the game. And that's what Doug Peterson did. He said, okay, these are 20 guys because of injury or whatever the situation is, they're not going to play. But to me, once you get in the game, you play and you coach to win. And to me, when I watched it, taking Jalen Hurts out at that point in the game was not coaching to win. And I think that's what a lot of the players had issue with.
Right. What's up, B? How you doing, man?
What's up, Key? How you doing, buddy?
I'm hanging in there. Would it have been different for you if Doug Peters decided to, have a conversation about the plan? Because it seems like, and it sounds like, there was no communication with him about what it is that he was intending on doing.
I think it may have felt a little bit better, but to me, again, I wouldn't have felt very, very much different because let's say he comes to us with the plan on Wednesday. Hey, guys, we're trying to get the 6th pick. And then now as a player on the team, as a veteran on that team, as a guy, Brandon Graham, in your 11th year, just making your first Pro Bowl, you're asking yourself, well, what am I doing on the field then? Why am I in a position to risk my life, my livelihood, my ability to stay healthy at the end of the season that doesn't really matter? And why am I out there on the field? So every player can question that. If you want to turn this into a preseason game, then turn it into the 4th preseason game. Take everybody out, all the people that are going to matter and certainly, have NFL experience, take all those guys out. But that's not normally how you do things in the NFL. You go out there and you play to win. So to me, I think, from the player's perspective, the truth still is that you go out there and you play to win every single play, every single down. That changing the way that you look at it, to me, wouldn't change the perspective from the player side.
Let me ask you this, B. Was it a collective effort by the organization as a whole, Jeff Lurie along with Howie Roseman, or was it just all Doug?
Well, that's the big question. That's what everyone is trying to figure out. I mean, you gotta question if you're in the organization. Again, the perspective is if you're in an organization that you probably would rather have the 6th pick rather than the 9th. In my opinion, if I'm the coach, my culture, the character of my program is more important than sliding up 3 picks. And I'll give you an example. Last year, the Patriots played the Dolphins early on in the season. They beat them by 43 zip, right? You beat them up. I mean, just embarrassed them. Then you come week 17, they play each other again. And Brian Flores is down there in Miami trying to build a program. He's trying to build culture and character of his football team. He could have very easily said, you know what, I don't care about winning. I want a better draft pick. But he went out there and decided to have his team fight. He decided to have his team compete to try to win because he's trying to build culture. He's trying to build character in that locker room, in that organization. And that was important to them. To me, that's the same type of attitude and mentality I would have as a coach. So, yeah, I don't know where it came from, Keith, but I just think if I'm the coach, the only way that I know how to teach my guys to have a better season and to do better and to live the culture and character that we're trying to instill is to win football games. And every chance I get to do that, I'm going to try to do that.
B. West, when you're talking about the culture, what does it say about the relationship between Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz? Because it seems like that's one of the many fractures in the culture. What's your take on that?
Well, it just doesn't seem that Carson and Doug are on the same page. Jay, I think when you listen to Doug talk, he's saying that him and Carson have a great relationship. Then you fast forward and look at what Carson is saying, or the reports at least are saying, that Carson believes that the relationship is fractured and that it can't be repaired. So I think that's something that the Eagles have to figure out if it can be repaired. To me, the only way to repair it based upon some of the things that have come out, the reports that have come out, is for Carson to be named the starter and there to not be any competition at all. The hard part, and this is what we know about sports and being in the locker room, guys, is that, when you struggle a season like Carson has struggled, that there's going to be competition. And at every other position, probably besides the quarterback, there normally would be that competition. And so I think, Carson hasn't loved what was going on in the organization from all reports that we've seen. He hasn't appreciated the fact that Jalen Hurts was drafted. He hasn't appreciated the fact that he doesn't think they have supported him in the way that he would like as a quarterback. And that's a conversation that Doug and Carson and probably Howie Roseman, the GM, need to have and try to figure out if they can move forward. But based on the reports that, have come out and everything that we've heard that Carson feels, he feels that the relationship is fractured. And once you say those things, you put those types of comments out there in the universe, it's hard to backtrack from that. So it's hard for me to see these two sides of it coming back together to win football games next year.
It's a fascinating perspective you have. Keep in mind, Carson Wentz, that deal, that $128 million deal, the Albatross, which is essentially the biggest issue the Eagles have in moving him, was signed in 2019. I mean, the middle of 2019. It wasn't that long ago. Brian, really appreciate you having us on your time here this morning. I know it's an early wake-up call, but great perspective on your side on really what's turned into the biggest story, I think, right now in the NFL with Wild Card Weekend coming. Thank you, man.
All right, B.
All right, Brian.
Take care, guys.
You too. Great to have him. He'll be on our affiliate 97.5, The Fanatic. So this is interesting. Westbrook just said, I'm going to paraphrase him, it's untenable for Wentz to be there. Yesterday, Mel Kiper Jr. said, actually, I think Wentz is going to be there and Hurts is going to be an accent piece. So you've got two respected guys going in two different directions. Obviously, there's still a ton to be worked out. But Key, I'm hearing that he could stay. Good argument. And I'm hearing more people say he's got to go. Better argument. Where do you fall?
When they first started this a month or so ago, I said that Jalen Hurts would play the whatever remainder of the game, show him what he can do. They'll come in the offseason and they'll battle it out in mini camps or whatever. Carson Wentz will be named the starter in the summer. He'll get a quick hook 3-4 games into the season. If he's struggling, then they'll do something with him. It's going to be hard, though, because of the money to move him. Unless Carson Wentz is willing to renegotiate his contract downward to get out of there, that's the only way he's going to move. Nobody's going to – the Eagles aren't going to absorb a cap hit at the level that it will take to move him just to get him out of there and not get the value back